Google search operators. Now, search operators are certain instructions that can be entered into Google to help you find specific site or keyword research information. And it's pretty important to recognize with Google search operators that the best quality information is to be found in the US results. But given that most internet marketers, even outside the US, are often targeting the US market, it still seems a pretty useful tactic to have in your SEO arsenal. Now, typically when we're using these search operators, we'll do it with SEO Quake switched on. And the reason for that is that we're always toggling our PageRank and looking for the best PageRank sites where we can potentially build links on. As I'll talk about shortly, it's much more time efficient if you can train one of your staff or an outsourcer to do a lot of this particular type of research for you. One of the great things about Google search operators is that you can use both positive and negative search operators, so you can choose to exclude things from your search strings just as you can also include them. And we're going to jump into quite a few examples of that shortly. Interestingly, Yahoo and Bing also have their own search operators, but for the sake of being brief and concise here, and given the fact that Google obviously has the majority share of the traffic, I'm not going to discuss Yahoo and Bing search operators, but certainly you can search for those, and they do have a bunch of their own as well. So what can search operators do for us? Well, they can help us find great backlink sources. And ideally what you want to do once you've created backlinks and you've seen that you've gotten stable backlinks on these sites, or some of them, what you want to do is add them to what I call a power list. A power list is a very important concept and principle wherein the sources of backlinks that you build over months or even years, where you find you've got backlink stability, and majority tend to be do follow, although I don't completely discount the value of no follow backlinks. The great thing about having a power list is that when you have a new property or any kind of new website that you want to promote, you can really just hand your existing power list to an outsourcer, to a link builder, and because you know that that particular list has already gotten great rankings results for one particular site, there's absolutely no reason why it can't get great rankings for another site, or tens of sites, or potentially even hundreds of sites, depending on your SEO resources. Search operators can also help us to reverse engineer competitors, find their best backlinks, or at least a good proportion of them, and we would then go and build our links on those same sites in order to leapfrog them in the search rankings. It's also quite valuable in keyword research. Personally, I prefer to use tools like Market Samurai and SEO Spyglass more than search operators, but it's important just to cover them in this video. So really what we're talking about here, and in fact in the whole course, is the development of long-term digital assets. And when you think about the assets that make a great SEO consultant or an SEO agency or company, depending on your ambitions, the assets that a great agency have will be things like not only the knowledge possessed by the individuals within that operation, but also resources like power lists, like knowing how to get the best out of software tools, knowing all of the shortcuts, knowing how to outsource properly. And here with these search operators, they can definitely make a big contribution to your digital resources, your digital assets, just as, for example, things like age domains and building up a group of those can also be a fantastic digital asset for use over and over again. Ultimately, what those digital assets allow you to do is to overwhelm your search engine rankings competitors. So if you find that you have a new client who's stuck at position 3 or position 8, or you've got your own site that you're developing, you can use these kind of assets, these power lists, these backlink sources, these search operators in conjunction with those to overwhelm that competition and just drive up towards the #1 slot. Now, another great thing about these search operators is that you can actually add several operators into a single search string. It's important to note that not all of the operators do work with multiple commands, and I will touch on the ones that don't work within that way. But the ability to combine these is where the enormous power of specificity, if you like, being super specific and drilling down, is where search operators can be extremely valuable. Not many people know, but Google, apart from obvious SEO value, Google even has many mathematical functions built in. And it can also do things like currency conversion. You can just type in questions like, what time is it in Tokyo or London? It's got a lot of extra functions that Google has just built in that most of us just never know about or never use, but they're definitely there. So rather than necessarily opening up a calculator or going to a currency exchange site, if that's relevant for your IM business, a lot of those mathematical type numerical functions already exist within Google. Now, Google also has many different file type extension search options. So, for example, you can search for Microsoft Word documents or Excel spreadsheets or PDFs or PowerPoint presentations and quite a few others. And the main reason that you might want to use those is if you're looking for good content, if you're looking to scrape some content from somewhere and spin it, for example. These are quite good options because you're just filtering out a lot of what tend to be less valuable kind of content sources. So, for example, if a business has gone to the trouble of creating a PDF or a PowerPoint presentation, you would think that the content on that would be quite a lot higher than just, for example, a hub page or possibly a Squidoo lens. So depending on the type of material that you're looking for, you can definitely use that option to find additional material kind of quickly and just drill down. Now, one of the important commands that we need to know with Google search operators is the plus sign. And the plus sign tells Google that you're looking for that exact term. It could be a phrase. You could also use inverted commas here. But if you just use a normal search without the plus sign or without the inverted commas, you'll get something more like a kind of a broad match on the Google keyword tool rather than something very specific. So the plus sign is a very important search operator, and we'll see that in action in some examples shortly. Another very useful command is the asterisk, which signifies a wildcard. So, for example, if we're searching on blogs, and here in this particular search string I'm using the in-URL blog, and then you've noticed I've made it exact weight loss for, and I might be interested in looking for additional ideas for expanding my weight loss IM empire, Google is going to return anything like weight loss for diabetics, weight loss for pregnant women over 40, weight loss for pretty much anything that you can think of. And one of the great things about the asterisk wildcard is that it also works for partial words. So, for example, if we use the wildcard in connection with the word medic, it would actually return search terms like medical, medication, medicinal, and of course medic as well. So the asterisk is a very good wildcard. And let's have a look at an example of the search result for that in URL blog weight loss for wildcard. So I'm in Firefox now and I'm about to run that particular search string that I've just mentioned, the weight loss for asterisk wildcard. But firstly, I need to make sure of two things. I need to make sure down in the bottom right hand corner that I have my SEO Quake switched on. So I need to toggle that on. And I need to come up here to this cogwheel in the top right hand corner for search options. And I need to click on search settings. And what I want to do here is scroll down and change the default search results from 10 to 100. Now, the potential drawback of doing this is that SEO Quake can be quite aggressive and you could get a temp ban from Google. Could be something like 30 minutes where you just can't get any page rank information. But here I'm actually running it through a proxy, so I don't think we'll have too many problems. So I need to now save preferences and then click on OK. So let me just put that string in. So here we're interested only in blogs. And I could have just used weight loss for asterisk just for some keyword ideas here. But I just want to show the power here of combining search terms, these search operators. So I'll click on Google Search. So here, right at the very, very top, we can see we've got a bunch of great keyword ideas. We've got weight loss for breastfeeding mums, weight loss for children, weight loss for teens. If we scroll down, we've got weight loss for teens again there, weight loss for women, weight loss for those looking to lose weight, weight loss for winners, weight loss for all, for everyone, for dummies, reference to the book, for beginners, weight loss for many, many years there, weight loss for idiots again, weight loss for those who are obese. You can see here we're getting lots of great keyword ideas that we could obviously go into the Google Keyword Tool. We can obviously go into the Google Keyword Tool and check on those exact match search volumes per month. That's obviously going to be a huge factor in whether or not we go after these terms. But it just gives you good ideas. Here we've got weight loss for cardio trainer, weight loss for you, another one for weight loss for idiots, weight loss for tired people, weight loss for geeks, weight loss for busy people. Lots and lots of ideas there that have been thrown up through that wildcard asterisk search operator. Another feature of search operators is that we can look for a number range. So this can be particularly useful on sites like EasyIn Articles or YouTube. So the search string I'm using here is, I've used the site : easyinarticles.com, and site : is going to list pages within a particular site. But notice here I've used the inverted commas to keep it very specific, and I've looked for articles that have been viewed between 20,000 and 199,999 times. So I'm using a couple of search operators here together, and in fact you can use even more, which I'll get to in a moment. Now I notice with the number range search operator that the cap, the limit, seems to be about 200. And the reason that we might go and want to have a look at EasyIn Articles, for example, is that we want to look on what are the articles that are getting clicked on. What's the clickbait? What are the killer headlines there? What's the angle that these writers are using to get these kind of extremely high viewing numbers? Because a lot of articles, of course, on EasyIn Articles get hardly any views. They might get 20 or 50 or a few hundred. Others here are getting, up to 200,000. So they must be doing something in their headline particularly that's hooking in those viewers of the site. And you, of course, can then not just copy the article, but get ideas from their angles and drive up your own kind of click-through as well. So unfortunately, the number range search operator, which is 2 dots, it's 2 dots between the number range that you're looking for, it doesn't work with a wildcard. Remember, you've got that cap there. On YouTube, where you've got kind of millions of videos, that might be less useful, but even videos that have, close to 200,000 searches, that's definitely worth looking at what's going on with those. And of course, you can also add a keyword to that or key phrase after that search string, such as weight loss or acne treatment, so that again, you're just drilling it down to being more specific all the time. So there's an example of if we wanted to look at the weight loss niche on EasyIn Articles and we're looking for those high view number articles. And in fact, let's go over to Firefox now and just have a quick look at that search string in action. So I'm more interested in the viewing numbers here. So I'm actually going to turn off SEO Quake just to speed things up. I'm going to put in that search string. You notice there's no space between the plus sign. And remember, the plus sign is keeping it at the exact term. So here we're looking at an article that's been viewed 98,000 times. This one below it, 30,000, 30,000, 20,000, 57,000. This one here, 156,000. If people are clicking on that headline, that tells you something about the intensity of interest in that particular topic and the effectiveness of the headline. There's a 64,000 search, 35, and so on. So you can get lots of great ideas there for headlines, for titles that you can use that are probably going to have a much better chance of being successful in terms of click-through than anything that you or I could just come up with off the top of our head. These are proven, all of these are proven performers in that niche and already delivering great click-through results. Now let's take it a step further. We can actually add an additional search string with wildcard, and we're going to tell Google to show us all of the most viewed articles on ezinearticles.com with views between 20,000 and almost 200,000 in the weight loss niche, but submitted on any day of any month in 2008, or we could do that for any year. So, for example, if we do a search on that for 2011, and when I've recorded this video, it's in October 2011, any articles that have a fantastic strike-through rate that have been published online in 2011, pulling those kind of numbers, they're doing something very right. And again, you can just look at the headlines they're using and look at how they're getting those click-throughs. So let's have a search on that. And I'm just going to change the search string here to 2011 and get rid of my PowerPoint extra point there. So we can see the very top article here was submitted in February this year, and already that has been viewed 64,000 times. And I think if you had an article on Easy Articles that had been viewed 64,000 times, you'd be pretty happy with that click-through rate. And look how simple the title is, Top 3 Current Lose Weight Quickly Diets. It seems like a very accessible, very easy, shortish kind of article, and that's getting a ton of click-throughs there. But if we go down further, there's that HCG cropping up again. It could actually be the same article, 156,000 views since February this year. Scrolling down, we've got a 60,000, almost 60,000, 59,000 there. 65,000. Lose weight fast the slow way, treat your muscles with kindness. Now, interestingly, on a title like that, we may not initially think that that's a particularly great headline, but we can't deny the click-throughs that are going through to that article. And you can see there we've got lots of other ideas. And we've got 19 results. So in effect, we're looking at 19 of among the best articles in that niche during 2011. Now, there will be some probably that have views above 200,000, which we can't access because of that cap on the Google search operator. But even from that 19, if you submitted or created 19 articles in weight loss based on those headlines, just think about the kind of potential traffic that could drive. And if you're using eZine Articles here as your traffic driver, you wouldn't be directly relying on Google search engine rankings here, and you're kind of working with what already works. So it's a very good kind of non-Google traffic driver if you choose to use it that way. So as we saw there, the number range can be combined with date-based search operators to locate, for example, when articles were created in a specific range. And there I've used the wildcard, but I might be interested, for example, in just articles published in September 2011. What are the winners in 2011? And I could wind the viewed number down to 1,000 or 5,000. That minimum doesn't matter, but the maximum is capped there at 200,000. So you can add any niche term to your string and find those highly viewed articles for clickbait ideas, as I discussed there when we were on eZine Articles. Now, there are a few here that potentially quite useful for keyword research, but I want to point out what I see as a few kind of traps in here that can make this a bit of a tricky area. And personally, I think it's better to use tools like Market Samurai and different metrics than these, but these do get talked about a little bit, so I do want to cover them. So if you use the in-title search with in-title keyword or in-title keyword phrase, inverted commas, it's going to show the approximate number of index pages in Google with that keyword in the page title. So obviously they have kind of SEO'd it for that. Now, the reason that I have a problem with this is I know a lot of guys talk about, it's got 40,000 competing sites or 150,000 competing sites, which is easy to beat, or 2 million competing sites or pages. The problem with that is if the top 5 in that niche, Wikipedia, a CNN authority page with a lot of backlinks, a huge authority site that's got a ton of internal links, you might even have potentially a couple of pages from Wikipedia, that could be a huge problem. So just be cautious with those competition numbers because often they can be quite misleading. It really does boil down to the strength of the sites, authority sites particularly, in those top 3 or top 5 slots on the page for the exact term that you want to rank for. So you can also use all in title, and all in title will basically tell Google that it needs to have all of the terms after all in title within the search results. So that does tend to narrow it down a bit if you've got a multi-word phrase. You can actually add together multiple in titles if you want to. And of course, don't forget that you also have negative operators. If, for example, you start doing some searching and you find you hit a lot of diabetic sites, but you don't want to rank for that, you can actually do minus diabetics or diabetic, and Google will then exclude those results, so it just drills down even further. So for example, if we're doing in title SEO Chicago, results will show pages with SEO only, Chicago only, or both, whereas all in title SEO Chicago will have both in the title. You can also use your inverted commas, but as I say, be quite careful with this metric, and I do view this as quite an outdated and misleading form of keyword research for the reasons that I've indicated. InAnchor is another one where you can check all of the index pages with links coming into that page using that exact anchor text, especially if you're using inverted commas there. Do note that you cannot combine that with other search operators. You need to obviously use it with SEO Quake to look at the page rank and judge the strength of authority on the sites that get returned. But it's also important to note that Google will not necessarily reveal all of the links coming in when you do, for example, a link domain search, which is another search operator I'll come to shortly. Google is quite cagey about revealing all of the links coming in. So anything involving links coming into a page, Google's kind of open public search operators, which in theory are meant to be different from Webmaster Tools in Google, although I've had a pretty mixed experience there. So just bear in mind that Google can be quite tricky with anything that's links coming into a page related. So the all in anchor command specifies that every word in the search string after all in anchor, no spaces after the colon there, must be used in the anchor text links pointing to a page. It'll find all of those. Now, InURL is one of my favorite search operators, and it's great, for example, for finding blog sites to leave comment links on, which, if that's your particular thing, or it could be very good for finding edu sites, edu forums as well. So, for example, we can have the InURL with forum or blog, and obviously there Google is going to bring back a bunch of forums and blogs. And when we combine the InURL command with additional search operators, that's when this one gets particularly powerful. And of course, we've got to be using this with SEO Quake. So for example, if we typed in InURL :blog space inverted commas weight loss with SEO Quake switched on, and I'm going to run this in a moment, we're going to get a whole bunch of blogs that we can toggle by page rank with SEO Quake to see where are potential sites that we can paste a blog comment. If you're into blog commenting, which personally I'm not hugely, but if that's part of your strategy, then this is a very good way to find those kind of sites. Now we can also add to that string either leave a comment in inverted commas or post comment. So we're hitting pages where we're actually invited to leave a comment, and remember that we can toggle that by page rank as well. And a particularly useful operator I find is a negative search operator to add to that string is to exclude any sites that have comments are closed on the page. And you can also use the wildcard. Instead of ARE in the middle, you could have comment space wildcard, the asterisk, closed, just in case there are pages or platforms where it's comments closed and the R is omitted. You'd actually pick up both of those. So let's have a look in Firefox now and see what kind of results we can get with that search string. So I'm back on Firefox, and I'm just going to put that string in. I need to make sure Firefox is switched on down here in the bottom right hand corner. So once SEO Quake has gone and found the page rank for all those sites, I then need to toggle the page rank, and I want it to go from highest to lowest. So here, for example, for some reason we've got this TurboTax site, something to do with his weight loss tax deductible here, but that's page rank 4 there. So that's obviously a pretty good place to leave a comment, except we did get the comments are closed. And the reason for that is that up here in the search box, we've actually got a dash instead of a minus. And sometimes if you're pasting from another program like Microsoft Word, or in this case I copied from PowerPoint, the minus turns into a dash. So I just need to redo the search. It's an important little trick just to watch out for. So SEO Quake has finished all of the search results there, and I need to toggle from highest to lowest page rank. And I've now excluded all of the pages where comments are closed, and we can see I've got about 158,000 results. So that's a pretty healthy, fertile kind of ground to go searching for blog comments. So we can see here at the top here we've got PageRank 3, PageRank 3, PageRank 3, a bunch of 2s, then we get down to the 1s and so on. So obviously if you can get your comment on that page, and I'm going to come to shortly to a great technique for this on forums, but if you can get your link on that page where the page rank is, that's so much more powerful than just being hidden away on an inner page. Those inner pages do have some value, but here where we can get page rank on the page, that's what we're really looking for. So rather than just sticking with the weight loss relevancy search operator that we're looking at there, I'm going to broaden it out a little bit because I'm looking for pages on forums that have page rank. And typically this happens when you only have the first page is the one that gets page rank. And this is a technique that was also discussed by Matt Carter in his Google Groups Hijack video in the intermediate area of the Academy. And the thing is, if a forum thread has got 47 pages, you obviously can't get onto the very first page. So here I'm looking for URLs that have the word forum in it, in the URL, that have reference to weight on the page, but also it's the first page of a thread, but it actually hasn't gone onto the second page. And I'm looking here for forums that have something to do with weight, where I can get my particular post, when I join the forum of course, onto that first page where the page rank lives. What you can also do is to remove that term weight or any keyword and just look around for forums where you can get onto the first page and get some page rank on your backlinks. Another one I quite like with InURL is the site.edu and then space InURL blog post a comment, because these are blogs actually on .edu sites, and I do rate those. I do think they have SEO value. But again, notice how we're combining search operators here to zero down to finding that exact page where we can post a comment. And in fact, I also like to add in the negative string of comments are closed. Just be careful that Google is reading your dash as a minus and not a dash. Otherwise, you get a whole bunch of pages back with comments are closed. So here, in theory, we should be able to go to quite a few of these sites and find good page rank on these .edu blogs where we can get a link with page rank on the page. Now, a couple of other operators you may wish to add in. Of course, you could do this to a .gov or a .mil, a military, if you wanted to go down that route, that there may not be too many. You can also add in the negative search operator comments off, and you may want to play around depending on the platform with interchanging comments are closed, that negative with comments off. Plus you can also add your keywords if you're looking for pages, again looking for relevancy. I'm concerned with page rank and not relevancy. So those search operators, when you combine them together, can be very, very effective in finding some great edu sites with backlinks, which of course would then go into your power list for ideally long-term use. Now, a search operator that I used to find very valuable was the link domain. At the moment, this doesn't seem to be working that well, and Google may have kind of wound down the effectiveness or even be looking to remove this because there's too much reverse engineering going on. But link domain really delivers a subset of links to a particular domain, and this is good if you add on the space site:/.edu or .gov additional operator so you can find edu or gov links to a particular domain such as a competitor, and you can obviously then go and build them. But at the moment, link domain is a bit problematic. It may not be continuing to operate in the future, in which case we need to look at tools like SEO Spyglass to deliver that reverse engineering result. And it used to be that link domain would actually work on bigger sites like article directories, and we could have a look at a bunch of high page rank EDUs going to a particular site such as Go Articles or Easy Articles. But unfortunately, it looks like that one is out of action at the moment and possibly will be for the foreseeable future. So in this particular search string, obviously we're looking on Easy Articles on the site, and we're looking for articles related to weight loss. So that can be useful if you're looking for such things as titles, though I think you need that number string that I talked about earlier to look for the most viewed, but you might be looking for content to spin. The info : command is one that I use a lot in age domain checking, and that's an important, very, very important part of the due diligence process if you're checking a domain. So you would type in infodomain.com, and as is shown in the relevant video in the advanced area, the domains that show up compared with what you've typed in must match. Otherwise, you're looking at a fake PageRank site, and I do give examples of those in that video. Now, another option, if you're not comfortable with using all of this different syntax, is that you can go into the advanced search area of Google. Just click on it, and you can go in and just kind of use a series of pull-down menus that will do all of these operators for you when you include blog, you include edu or gov and things like that, and you leave out certain terms. And when you set that up, you come back to the main search page and you'll see how the syntax has all been set up for you if at first you're not too comfortable doing that. Another very useful source of higher quality articles, particularly if you're looking for spinning, is to use Google Scholar, where it's basically only academic journals that are accessed there, so you're not kind of dealing with the general web. So that can give you higher quality search results. And in a minute, I'm just going to run over a few of these, but just want to give you these extra ideas. You can also use the define command. So if there's anything doesn't have to relate to SEO, you can use define:301 redirect, and you'll see exactly a very clear definition of that, or a whole series of them. This is the command for finding files of a particular type if you're looking for potentially quality articles, so PDF here, but as I said before, it could be PowerPoint presentations, could be documents, could be Excel spreadsheets, depending on exactly what you're looking for. The tilde command is possibly useful. I don't use it. I tend to use the Google Keyword Tool more, especially when I'm signed into AdWords, to make sure I'm getting 800 search results, not the 100 if I don't have an AdWords account. But the tilde command will give you search terms, and it doesn't have a colon there, so you just type in tilde and diet, and of course you can use negative search operators on that as well. Now, quite a good search string I find if you're looking around for ideas and people trying to solve problems is how to get rid of wildcard. And it'll just give you a lot of ideas if you're struggling for a new niche site idea. And obviously these need to be checked with exact match search volumes in Google, but it can just give you a bunch of good ideas. And quite often websites will have a resources page. This is a little bit old school here, but you can get some inner page links if you wish. I would avoid any that insist on reciprocal linking, and many of them don't, some do. This is definitely a task to outsource, but if you type in add URL and you've got weight loss, you will find many, many sites that allow you to submit your link to their resources page and they will add it in. So it can add some backlink diversity and you're going to get some extra links there. another possible search operator that you might look for, and this is for sites that mention you or your site but actually don't link to you. So for example, my search string here is I put my name in inverted commas, so I've got Terry Kyle there, minus links from terrykyle.com and excluding those from terrykyle.com. So anything that mentions my name but that isn't coming from terrykyle.com, and it could be from one of my other sites, of course, potentially if they've spoken about me in a positive way, that's an opportunity to get a link from those sites. So if I had an outsourcer assigned to that task, I could approach those sites. Very, very different to cold calling websites, which in my view is a complete and utter waste of time. That sort of white hat link building just doesn't work in my experience. But if a site is already talking about you or your website positively, then an email or two can certainly result in a link there as well. Just make sure that the minus sign is being used and not the dash. Also, this isn't a Google search operator, but I find it extremely useful, is Google Alerts. And these are automated email alerts where you can have an exact match search looking for a term that you specify, and as soon as Google crawls something that you specified, it will immediately email you. And I have found this very, very effective in identifying illegal downloads of some of my past products, which I immediately handed on to my lawyer, my main man Chad, who within 2 or 3 days had these illegally shared products taken down. So there are many, many uses for Google Alerts, and that is covered in a separate video. But hopefully looking at those search operators there does give you an idea of the kind of scope and the enormous flexibility and range of options through these advanced search operators. Now, just finally, I want to run over a few good ways to find some additional sites that you could leave links on, particularly through blog commenting. A good one to use for British University is inurl.ac.uk. Powered by WordPress, I would recommend adding in the comments are closed negative search operator, or the one with the wildcard in. This is definitely a task that you want to outsource. And you can do the same with inurl.edu, inurl.gov, and you will get results there where WordPress installations are set up to accept comments on edu and gov sites, edu sites. On the Blog Engine platform, very similar, inurl.edu, powered by Blog Engine, negative search operator, comments are closed. Same for .gov as well. Now, just quickly, forums, obviously we want to use SEO Quake here. If we're interested in relevancy, we can do a search here on powered by the particular software platform like vBulletin or IP Board. If you find you're getting a lot of results like from the software company themselves, like I noticed when I do a search on IP Board forums, I get a lot of InVisionPower.com sites. I can use that negative search operator with site to knock that out and remove that from all search results. So don't overlook those negative search results. And of course, you've got the page 1 of 1 command as well that you can use. So now I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration of the advanced search options here. So we click on advanced search there, and we can see here that I can just have forum or blog, and there I might want the page 1 of 1. Let's remove that. And I can use my negative search operator there. I can change language if I'm looking for backlinks from foreign sites. File type here. I could be looking for a PDF. Unlikely I'd look for a PostScript file. I can look for a PowerPoint presentation on weight loss. It's unlikely to find a PowerPoint presentation on there, but let's just say that I go for and in my advanced search, I just also want to have edu and weight as well. Now, because I've used weight without using the plus for the exact, you can see here I'm getting mass as well. But quite a few sites coming up there, and it looks like I've ruined that proxy because Google is starting to block me. But you can see there we've got the advanced search. And let's say if I jump into Google Scholar and look for an article on acne, because I'm looking to scrape some content. Oops. So we can see here I've got what would be a very well written article. It's actually a PDF, that one, that I can download and use. But we can see here this is obviously quite well written. I would need to come along and spin that content, of course, but it's a much better base to work from there with Google Scholar. Here is an example of the define command. And we turn off SEO quick. So we can see there, definition for 301 redirect, and immediately I've given a good one from Wikipedia. Not necessarily immensely useful, not necessarily relevant to SEO, but could be useful just on the fly, just finding out about this or that. Could be a technical process. The final search string I'll just run through now, because this video is getting quite long, is the wildcard in how to get rid of. And this is just for a lot of ideas if you're looking for a new niche site. So you can see we've got a whole bunch of things. How to get rid of things, grubs, pop-ups, fears and phobias, blackheads, ants in the house, acne, cellulite fast, hemorrhoids, rats, grasshoppers in your garden, smoke smells, dark spots and patches on elbows and knees. So many different niches there to look at. And as I said before, obviously you need to check on exact match search volume on those, but using that wildcard is very, very useful just for getting good keyword ideas.